Hello, and welcome to another Cloud Podcast, a podcast designed to bring you stories from the smartest minds in IT, operations, and business, and learn how they're using cloud technology to improve business and the customer experience.
Welcome to another Cloud Podcast. I'm, joined here today with my co-host Alex. Alex, great to have you on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Friday. I love doing podcasts on Friday. I'm so happy. It's been at the end of the week. It's getting closer to the afternoon. We should be tapping into some of those beer taps that you have and having a cold one on this one, but we didn't coordinate. We didn't coordinate well enough. So here we are, hot in my little office, ready to go, talking about AI and what's going on in the contact center world. But yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're also joined here by two people, not just one, just a special for this episode here, two instead of one, two for the price of one, I should say. Two people from Sharpen. We've got Rick and Murph. I'll let you guys kind of say hi and give little intros about who you are and what you guys do at Sharpen.
Great. I'm going to, since you're not used to having two folks over here, I'm Rick Kosiba. I'm the chief data scientist. I'm going to let Murph talk about Agent First and Sharpen and all that stuff. I'm going to run over and get a beer, and I'll be right back.
Oh, you smart man.
Love it. Go grab me one.
In our office.
Yeah.
So I know how far away the keg is from his office, so I know
This
about
is
how long I've got. Yeah, I'm Murph Krajewski. I'm the CMO at Sharpen. We call ourselves the Agent First contact center platform. We do omni-channel. We're all up in the cloud. We'll kind of get into the weeds of it a little bit, but the summary is everything that we do, everything that we create is focused around creating a better experience for frontline customer service workers, the people that are on the phone when you call an 800 number, or on the other end when you get a human on the other end of a web chat or a text message or whatever. I will say theory, but it's not theory. We're finding that when you improve the experience of the frontline agents, that numerically customers have a better experience as well. And I'm sure Rick's got all kinds of data and all that good stuff. But we're finding a real, obvious close tie to if you improve certain agent stats, then CSAT numbers go up as well. And we bring all of that home for businesses by guaranteeing some ROI metrics, and we're seeing just some really cool stuff come out of that. So, see, I knew how long it was going to take him to get back with a beer.
Yeah, I thought he was filling up a growler at first. It was taking him so long. Well, Rick, he didn't say too many bad things about you, so you can start to say the good things about yourself.
Nice. But I caught the tail end of what Murph was talking about, and it's he's right. We've started measuring ROI. And we've got some really cool stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to definitely hearing some of those stories and learning more about Sharpen and what you guys are doing. And I just love data scientists, CMO, and I love bringing smart people on because I am not that smart. And I bring the smart people in here to talk about all the things going on in technology with AI and all the things that are happening to improve customer experience, to improve agent experience. So I'd love to just start driving down that road on agent experience and how you've seen it change over the last 5 to 10 years and how that kind of landed Sharpen where it's at today.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot happening. So Sharpen is we rebranded our original company name back to Sharpen around 5 years ago. And we've gone through a couple of iterations, but we've always been focused on solving the problem of agent experience. And there's actually a third part of Rick and I. We've got a chief experience officer whose name is Adam Settle, he's finishing up some vacation in Panama City right now, or I'm sure he would be on here. And we could title this one "Too Many Chiefs." So we kind of did a deep dive on what exactly the agent experience entails, and we're finding that part of it is the tools that agents use day in and day out, the windows and the applications that they have to point and click to. And we did some research and found that, a lot of agents are suffering with, up to 8 different screens that they have to navigate to help a customer out. So you're basically plunging an agent into chaos, saying, help somebody else solve their problem. P.S. They're going to be mad by the time they get to you already. So good luck with that. So, we consolidate all of our communications channels into one place. We give them one window to have to navigate all of those things, and, just very seamless interaction between channels. You can, start with a web chat and easily click a button and turn it into a phone call if text isn't working, or send pictures back and forth, all of that stuff. And then we layer in the like Salesforce or Zendesk or, whatever your CRM or ticketing stuff is, so that something about your customer and you have access to actually make decisions and solve their problems right there while you're concentrating on helping them solve their problems. So then, outside of just the agent's day-to-day thing, there has to be support for the agents. They have to have good coaching. They have to have good processes, and the managers that are overseeing those agents have to have data. And that was important. It's always been important, but it became like front and center important when COVID hit and everybody had to scatter and go home. Data was all these managers had to live by, right? It's like, I like to call it celestial navigation. They have to try to navigate these things by watching the stars and the numbers and making good decisions. And so we do a lot of good work with that. I'll let Rick kind of talk more about that stuff. But then the last part of it that we do is we help executives in these companies understand what the contact center is doing day to day. Because I not a lot of executives know or care to get in the weeds, but what they care about is, how much is that costing me, or how much is that saving me? And so that's what Rick's team does, is he takes all those numbers and he works with our customers to come back to them and say, here's the money that we're saving you just by using Sharpen and our efficiency tools and all that kind of stuff. So I'll bring all that back around and say, in the last 5 years, we've been solving the problem of agent experience, and we've been telling the story of how we're doing that. And as a marketer, I'll say it's gratifying, though secretly I would be lying if it didn't make me a little mad, that some of our larger competitors have started to co-opt agent experience as kind of a buzzword. It's becoming a thing now that people say and do, but it's thin. And so we're glad, number one, that the awareness is getting out there and that the story's getting told. And we welcome those people who are interested in it to come and find out for yourselves what that means in your business and solving your problems.
Yeah, you touched on a lot of really good points, and then I'm going to throw this over to Rick because I know this is kind of his world, but I'll start off by saying a little bit of a backstory. So a lot of the people listening, myself included, all the people in the contact center, kind of director, senior director, and up, we started in the contact center. We were probably one of the first couple agents answering calls, writing down phone numbers on sticky notes and put them on the board and remembering to call them back, back before there was really technology to help us there. And it's really hard for agents to know how they're doing. Did I take enough calls today? Did I not? Was the handle time good? Was it not? Did I do all the wrap up codes? Did I have great sentiment or not sentiment calls? Like, all of these questions are not only happening while they're on the call and distracting them from actually helping the member or the customer, because they're thinking like, oh my God, is this going to be QA'd later? Am I going to get scored negatively? So transitioning into where we are today and where your product is today, you guys recognize that. And I know that the buzzword today is gamification, but in reality, it's just giving the agent the information that they need so that they know feedback wise whether or not they're performing to a certain level. So talk to us a little bit about why that's important to you guys, what you guys do, but also what you have found. And I think this is more, Rick, this might be your world, what you have found as a proven successful business metric, by designing this ecosystem where agents feel informed.
Yeah, hey, that's thanks for teeing that up. The whole funny. I've been here at Sharpen I'm now starting to push 2 years, Murph. Doesn't that sound crazy?
Sharpen time is real, man. I'm telling you.
Wow. And when you first came on board, I'll talk a little bit about the time right before I came on board. But when I first came on board, we started thinking about, there's performance management out there. I know there's a whole bunch of tools. There's gamification companies out there and such. And we went on a little tour. We went around talking to some customers and learning about how they're using our system. But we also went around and started talking to some gamification companies. And we're talking about partnering with them. So what is it that we can do with them and see what whether we can offer their product as part of our suite. And one of the things that they said was, I asked them, where do companies get value from you? And I got the same answer at 4 different places. And they all said, if you just show agents their performance, just show them their numbers, you'll see an improvement. And then they say you get 90%, 95%. And the other 5% is, you can give them points so that they can buy something from the company store, or you can let them do challenges, or you can give them an avatar, right? An avatar on their screen. And if you get enough points, maybe you can buy a puppy for the avatar and things like that.
Cargo shorts.
Right. Cargo shorts, right. Or a surfboard or something like that, but I think there's a detriment to doing that extra stuff, and that extra stuff, being you basically make the job juvenile or something. You're not treating them like adults, right? You're treating them as though they're folks, playing a computer game or something. And I think that probably isn't wise. It doesn't feel right. It's sort of there's a bias that I think people my age have to the kids, that they don't want to work, right? That's probably the bias throughout the ages, right? But kids don't want to work. And so what we're going to do is make it a game and then they'll work, right? Nah, that's not treating them as professionals and such. So either way, what we decided to do is let's get the 95% solution here. And I think we're the only platform around that offers a little small but very effective performance management piece. And it does something very simple. We give the managers can put 3 metrics in front of the agent, and at the end of every contact, they get off the contact and they can see what their stats are, and they're going to show what their ranking is amongst their peers. We're going to show where they are relative to their goal. There's a little message that says "Great job," thumbs up, and that's it. And the fun thing about it is, as soon as we turned it on, we started measuring it, and we're seeing results that are just fantastic, off the charts, really kind of cool. And all we're doing is giving the agents a reminder of what's important to management. And when you think about it, at a time when a lot of the agents are working from home, managers aren't walking around talking to them. They don't have a in-person meeting. They don't meet at the vending machine or there's just no human contact. Everything has to be sort of on purpose. The human contact, you have to call somebody up to try to talk to them or set up a meeting. Everything's purposeful now. Just seeing what's important to the management in front of you all the time really will have an effect. And think about it. If we knew that management was watching us on something that we do, how many articles Murph writes or whatever it is, you'd write more articles, right? So it works. And I've got a whole bunch of data around it that shows that it works. So it's really cool. We can talk about that too.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I remember back in the day when I was a team lead and I had a team of, I think it was 16 people, and they were answering calls, tech support, inbound support, 8 hours a day. And of the 8 hours a day, I probably only got about 15 minutes on their calendar per day as their manager, as their team lead. And this was before there was really technology to give them feedback on what their handle time was, how many calls they took, that type of stuff. It was just phone rang, you picked it up, you answer it, you put some notes in, you hang up, you do the next one. And I was using that time to tell them what their stats were, their metrics were.
Right.
And to have it, at the tip of your finger, or, for an agent to be able to look at that themselves, now that frees up the time for them when they only have 15 minutes to talk to their supervisor anyways, to talk about things that are really important, like how am I doing, or how can I evolve, or, what are the learning points? So it's all about automating that so that you could have real conversations and valuable conversations versus just meaningless conversations where you're just reviewing numbers. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah, it's really cool. Let me tell you a story. So we turned on performance. We call them performance tiles, Sharpen performance tiles, and we put it out there in beta. We find customers who are who want to try it, and it's shocking how many folks want to try it. Everybody wants to try it, right? Everyone wants to do it. And we turn it on. Our first customer is a kind of a friend of Sharpen, somebody who's kind of a forward-thinking manager. He was EVP of customer care at a credit union, and so we decided to turn it on. And he chooses 3 metrics. One is, I think, handle time. Another one was number of transfers, maybe, and then the third one was something called active contact resolution, which I do want to talk about at some point. And he chooses those. It's akin to first call resolution. And so my job was to start looking at their data. So they turn this thing on, agents are seeing it, and I'm watching their handle time because I'm really smart. And I know that agents can affect their handle time, right? And first call resolution, not so much. They can't affect that so much. And I'm watching it. And the first day I look at it and I don't see much of a change. I'm like, okay, these things are going to take time. Maybe it'll take a month or so to for agents to kind of react to it. Mm-hmm. Second day, I don't see anything. Third day, I don't see it. After the third week, I call this guy up and I say, hey, Matt, could you light a fire under these agents? Their handle times aren't improving at all. They're just sort of bouncing around. And he started laughing at me. He says, dude, we're a credit union. We don't care about handle time. We do care about first call resolution, and it's never been better. And our CSAT scores are through the roof. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, you should, don't you look at the data? I'm like, oh, so let me go back and look at the data. So I went and looked at the data, and I'll be damned if it's bouncing around. The first call resolution is bouncing around, and all of a sudden the day we turn it on, it goes bing through the roof, 5-6 points, immediate. It's nothing gradual, just a complete, you got a kink in the curve. And I started looking at it, and sure enough, this is all of his groups, all of them improved in that. And what he told him is, don't worry about handle time, worry only about first call resolution. And it was never better. And so we started measuring it every time we turn one of these things on. Still today, we track when they do it, what metrics they choose, and then we look at it. And it's astonishing. Every day, the day they turn it on, you see a kink in the right direction for almost all metrics, including, and this is neat, is how everybody sort of thinks in order to get first call resolution, the agents should spend a little bit more time with the customer and stuff, right? That makes sense, right? But how many of us, when we call somebody, do you want to talk to the agent, right? I don't care if it's longer or shorter. So if you look at it, was a lot of our customers, you'll see an improvement if you show them both and you tell them that both are important, like handle time and first call resolution. You'll see both improve, and it's completely counterintuitive to what we've been told as call center people for years and years. So you can actually improve both, and it's really kind of cool. It's kind of cool. The other thing that I think is kind of cool is it sort of gives you back to my philosophy on treating folks early in their career as though they're juveniles. Is everybody wants to do well. Everybody wants to do well. You don't have to give them a free t-shirt after winning a contest or something. You can just let them show them what it takes to do well, and they do. It's kind of cool.
I love the psychology behind it, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going to make a lot of gamification companies pretty upset by realizing that they don't need it. But I love, in what you said earlier about this data, right? And how everyone's work from home. So these managers don't have the visibility of seeing how Joe or Sally's doing next in the booth next to them, the cubicle, but now they just have to look at the data. How have you seen that change on how they look at their contact center, at their call center, by just having to look at data? Or are there other things that they're doing to supplement that while they're all work from home?
Yeah, there absolutely are. I just had a conversation with another of our customers, actually down in Tennessee.
There you go.
Becky. Is Becky in Nashville? I think she is. So you'll be.
She's gonna be my new neighbor.
Anyways, she and I were talking, and we were kind of talking about like managing remotely and how things went for them. And they saw they sell pet products. And so of course, when everybody's staying home, they're spending time with their pets, they're buying stuff for their pets. So their sales like skyrocketed while all their agents were at home. So they were managing by the data and they were trying to figure all that stuff out. And what they were doing, the reason I think this is so impactful is they were using the data to connect the humans of their team with each other. So they were doing more like, daily stand-up calls, and the managers were doing more purposeful check-ins, like Rick was saying, right? Like being intentional about that. But it wasn't about like the old boiler room, make more calls, make more sales. It was about how can I use the data to watch these trends and know who needs help or who's doing well, or who's struggling with a particular thing and maybe needs a specific coaching conversation. And so what they're doing is they're increasing their amount of connectedness to each other as a team. And that's like one of the biggest things that Sharpen has always been about is, realizing the humanity of being a frontline customer service worker, and how either empowering or disempowering that job can be. So it's not just about ones and zeros. It's not just about, seconds and dollar signs. It's about, how are we connecting one human with an answer to one human with a question and getting everything else out of the way so that the two of them can just work it out. Right. And then, like Rick said, the agents just want to do their job well. They don't need cargo shorts for their avatar. They just need to end the day feeling like they helped somebody genuinely and that someone else noticed it. And so, that's kind of what we're finding, like through technology and through data, we're able to actually kind of help the human experience be better.
It's kind of funny. When I, prior to taking the job here at Sharpen, I went on a little mini tour and talked to some customers who were in my local area. And that whole agent first thing, I was like, okay, people have been talking about workforce engagement management and things like that for a long time. Not that any of us really knew what it meant. We all just sort of talk about it as how it's important, and you want your workers to be happy so that your customers are happy and all that. So that was just all sort of noise, right? I didn't know what it meant. And then I went and started talking to some of our customers before I was working at Sharpen, and just to try to get a feel. And they, talking to an agent who was actually using Sharpen, they're like, yeah, I was here before, and oh my gosh, things were so complicated. I had to go from here to here to here to here to here, and it's frustrating. And they said with Sharpen, everything's right there, super easy, which means your handle times are naturally going to be lower. It means your learning curves are going to be shorter. It means there's so much less frustration. Interestingly enough, my wife, who is a school teacher, when we ended up moving during COVID, so this last summer, I moved my family to Indiana from Baltimore, where I lived before, and so we came out here. Getting a job in the summertime during COVID, if you're a school teacher, not real easy. So she ended up taking a call center job doing COVID tracking. And the amount of frustration associated with bouncing around to different things and learning a new system remotely, all of that was really, really hard. And then I would go and talk to our customers and it'd be like, no, it's actually pretty easy. And after I took the job, I did do another tour. This is when I was talking to the folks with the board shorts and stuff. But I also was talking to customers. And one of the places that we went and visited was a company that was implementing that day. It was their first day of implementation. And so I show up 2 hours into the meeting or into the implementation to meet with management and just see how things are going and introduce myself. I'm new to Sharpen and all this. And I go, well, when do you think the agents are going to be up to speed and ready to go? And they said, oh, no, everyone's up to speed already. We're ready. We're going. They're actually working. We thought it'd be on Friday, and today's Monday, but hey, it's all working. So just because it's easy, right? If you build things for a human being that's easy, not build it for, we're not building it off of old platforms or old ways of doing things. Turns out to be, have real repercussions, real, benefits, which is cool. And then one of the things that I've been doing lately is running around and showing people what their ROI is when they turn it on. We're approaching this a little backwards, but one of the things that happened when we started showing people the benefit, or when we started seeing the benefit of both the performance management piece and noticing the differences between performance before and after Sharpen, is the CEO and Murph. I don't know. One of those things where they throw out an idea in the middle of a meeting, and you go, nah, that's not something that's normal. And the idea was, hey, look, we're seeing all this benefit. Why don't we just offer everybody their money back if they don't see, a huge ROI? And the rest of us are, whoa. No. That's not something that we're going to do. Right. And so our CEO is just a great guy, real smart guy.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, if we're not doing a good job with them, if we're not getting them benefit, why should they use our product? I mean, they shouldn't. They should walk away from it. We'll give them every dollar back, our implementation costs, everything, because if they're not seeing value, we shouldn't be charging them for it. And so he says, but you got to start measuring it, Rick. And so I went and started measuring it, and we're seeing two real bumps in ROI from going from old platforms to ours, including other folks who are cloud-based, call center software.
Mm-hmm.
Is they see a bump in handle time just because the system's easy to use and drop in learning curve. And then the second one is when we turn on performance tiles, we usually see another one. And I've got great stories around it. I've got great graphs that show it. It's really kind of impressive.
I think one of the big things about keeping a customer long term is being able to show them the ROI, because there's a CFO at all these companies that, well, we just spent a gob of money implementing this, contact center solution, and it's costing us a gob of money. Is this truly gonna, give us the ROI that these salespeople claim it can give? And I just love that aspect of just putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I was a little nervous about it, but now I'm doing all the math. It's like, oh well, we're getting it every time, and each time is a new story, which makes it really great.
And it gets even better because we're more commonly now, when we're taking this ROI back to the customers, it's not rare, it's not unusual that we're showing savings that are greater than what they're paying us. So they're like, their annual savings, more than make up for what they're using or what they're paying to use Sharpen.
Yeah, the last one was three times.
Yeah.
And it puts your money where your mouth is, but long term too. It's a partnership, hopefully forever, but it's one of those things, like if you implement it and like maybe you get a little bump in ROI for like a month, but then it returns back to normal. But in your case, when you're giving a money back guarantee, you're investing in the partnership long term, which is really amazing. I haven't seen anything similar or close to that in the with your competitors or in the marketplace. It's truly amazing. Also, it really arms the person who wants the change, wants to go to Sharpen with something that they could deliver to a CFO or a CEO and say, look, we're going to try this new thing out. If it doesn't work, it's going to be free. We're going to get our money back. We go back to our old way of doing things, or we can try another product or another tool set. And it removes that barrier of, is it going to be the right product for us? Is there going to be an ROI? It just removes all those barriers and drives executive buy-in. Absolutely love it.
Yeah,
well, and it does highlight one thing that's really important to us as a company, is that partnership aspect that you were talking about, because nothing is an easy button. We're not here saying that Sharpen is this switch that you flip and everything's magical. It takes real work. But what we do is, from the moment a deal is signed and a new customer is brought into the family, we give them a dedicated, we call them CSMs, customer success manager, and that person is with them as a partner all the way through implementation, all the way through the life of their contract. So we take a lot of time in the discovery and implementation process to really uncover the goals and the priorities that every one of our clients has. And they can be different, right? Because no business is exactly like another.
Yeah.
And so then we ask questions, have you considered doing it this way? Have you thought about this or whatever? And we kind of work our way to that set. And then when they're implementing, we make sure that, because our software is really configurable, we make sure that it's aimed squarely at that shared target. And that aspect of it, like the partnership aspect, we've had many customers come back and tell us that, they appreciate that we're watching the numbers as well on the back end, and that we're bringing ROI to them. And they're like, every vendor promised you some kind of ROI, but no one ever comes back and just shows it to us. Here's the dollar figure you're saving. So that's the part I think, we don't see it like a 3x ROI and get greedy and be like, well, let's raise our prices. We want more of that money.
Right.
We still think like, how can we use that story to grow our family of companies, right? And how can we help more agents, and how can we help improve customer service for all of us? And so it's as much a passion project as it is a business. We have revenue goals like everybody else, but it's nice to think about it differently than just as a spreadsheet.
Absolutely. Shameless plug on my book, Enable Better Service on Amazon. But one of the chapters in here, shameless plug, of course. One of the chapters in there, I talk about choose a partner, not a vendor. I hate the term vendor. I hate how, it's been used. Suppliers, another one that's kind of not so great.
Yeah.
But the term vendor is it's like a vending machine. You put the money in, the thing comes out. Hopefully it comes out, doesn't get stuck in the little curly Q thing, but
right.
Hopefully you get what you pay for. And that's truly what a vendor is. But a partner is someone who's gonna, sell you that same thing. Maybe it's a candy bar or whatever it is. Yeah. And they're gonna ask you about it. You're gonna get a human interaction. You're gonna be able to do more than just give the money and get the thing. So love that methodology, love that terminology. And also shameless plug in the book, happy agents equal happy customers. And Rick, you said that earlier, and it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
There's some amazing Gardner reports that are out there, Forrester reports as well, that survey the customer health in comparison to the agent health, doing internal agent surveys. How do you like your job? Are you likely to stay with this company for 5 years? Those types of questions.
Yep.
To the comparable customer questions, like, are you likely to recommend this product to someone else? Did you get your solution solved within the first try? Things like that. And you'll see a direct correlation that the happier your agents are, the happier your customers are, because if they're happy, they're literally the voice in the ears of your company. They're not only going to listen to your customers and then report back to the rest of the organization when there's problems, because they're invested in the company, but also they're going to be saying things in a way that highlight the benefits of your company versus it just being a 9-to-5 job where all I do is answer phone calls all day. So big kudos to you guys. I think you guys are changing the way that we think of technology partnerships. And you guys are absolutely in the right spot, right time. Tell us a little bit about your technology and its platform. Is it in the cloud? Is it open API? Is it an all-in-one solution? Do you partner with third-party ecosystems? Tell us a little bit about that so that our viewers can understand a little bit more about how they could potentially partner with you guys.
Yeah, I'll nutshell it and just say yes to all of those things. We are built and deployed in AWS, so all of the security and stability afforded therein. We've got that. We do have an open API architecture, so we've got a lot of integrations that we've got with Salesforce and Zendesk. I mentioned a couple already. We've got some partnerships with workforce management vendors as well. So basically for us, we try to make sure that we have integrations that our customers want and need. And so we take when we expand those things, if someone comes to us and they're like, hey, can you integrate with Facebook? We're like, yep, we can handle that. And so we, make sure that we can route that. And so we like to, I mentioned that because we like to find customers who want to do things that we haven't thought of yet, right? Because it helps us to sort of stretch in different directions and see what other cool stuff we can make our platform do. We are omni-channel. I mentioned that our channels are seamless between each other. What we did when we wrote our platform was, instead of writing a phone channel and an email channel and a chat channel and all that, we wrote 4 types of communication, and those are voice, video, text, and data. And so because we did that, the channels are essentially together in one pipeline of communication. So a good way to think of that is if someone comes to a company's website and there's a little chat now, box in the bottom corner, they could pop that up. we can supply that web chat for them. If web chat isn't cutting it and the person's like, I got a broken thing that I want to get returned under warranty, the agent can just click a little switch, flip it over to being a text message. The customer can take a picture and text it to them. And then if they want to switch back to a web chat, they can, or they can click a button and take it to a phone call or spawn an email right off of that. And that's all one interaction. We're capturing all the recordings, all the transcripts, all of that stuff for review later, which again makes for a really good agent experience and a user or a customer experience. I like to describe what we don't really build our software with this philosophy. This is just my weird brain, but I always like to think of good software as like a lens. Like, I'm the only one wearing glasses, but I don't look at the lens, I look through the lens. And so it should be visible by itself, but it should make everything else easier to deal with, right?
Yeah.
And so when my lenses get dirty and things get messed up and I'm looking at the lenses, it distracts from other stuff that I'm trying to do. And so we try to make software that just sort of disappears in the process and lets one human connect with another human and solve that problem, and move on. So let's see, AWS, APIs, integrations, omni-channel. Our reporting is this a curseable podcast?
Go for it.
Our reporting is kick-ass. I'm just going to say it out loud. Rick, you want to talk a little bit about?
Oh, it's one of the reasons I came to Sharpen, a year and a half ago is because it is so easy to get data out of. It's so easy to get data out of. It's so easy to build reports within the system. It's easy to take it and build models with it if you want. Whatever you want to do, it's so easy. I do know there's so many systems that the complexity of just getting stuff out and understanding what it is such a barrier that people just don't do analytics. I can't tell you how often I talk to somebody who's like, no, I've never seen that, or I can't get data out of, like when we're doing the ROI, the first thing that we do is we take data from their old system.
Right.
And some of it's kind of hit and miss from the point of view of the customer doesn't believe that they can get basic call center data out of their system, let alone getting, 6 months worth. And so it's a real problem for most companies, including some of the more modern ones. But it's so easy to get our stuff out of there. We can, building dashboards, they're a freaking dream. They're just really easy. You can knock things off in 10 minutes. You suddenly have a new dashboard. It's fun as a data person because we can get it, manipulate it, and play with it. You can come up with custom metrics all the time. I remember back in my old days where I remember one time having to pay somebody $50,000 for a report. And
Wow.
because it's like, we got to do a custom report.
It's your data. You shouldn't have to pay to get your own data.
Right. No, this is
crazy.
No, with us, they can come up with their own metrics and custom metrics that, we define things a different way. Go ahead and define it that way. Or we'll do it with you. Our CSMs will do it for you. So it's a neat way of operating in terms of numbers. And we come up with some really great analytics and we share them amongst the customers too. That's another fun thing is a lot of the best practices really do get shared. Somebody comes up with a good idea, boom, we'll have a user group meeting, or next time I talk to them, we'll say, hey, you want to see something that somebody else did that's really neat? And they go, that is really neat. Can we do it too? Yes, we can. And here's your graph, that kind of.
Yeah. Shameless plug on our side. We've done a couple of webinars this week. I think this is our third broadcast that we've done this week. But a couple of them got really in the weeds with metrics, and we got really great response from people who call themselves data nerds. So if you're out there listening to this and you are a data nerd, your home is with us. Like, we are your people. Come see us at sharpencx.com. We got you covered.
We're obviously not very cool as human beings, but we got the
man. I got earrings. I'm kind of cool.
Well,
Yeah,
you guys
so
you got a
1990s,
cake.
man.
Hipster, you got a keg. That's great. No, this is absolutely wonderful, and absolutely plug it, because that's why we like to have our partners come on to this podcast and be able to highlight. I'm learning new things every day about contact center, and just to learn more about Sharpen and what you guys are doing. And I think what's unique is that you have a good niche that really fills a lot of gaps that are in the market. And you're not the Goliath, you're the David, just like taking down all these contact centers and helping them like bolster their performance and showing it and proving it, which is just amazing.
Yeah. The proof is something that's actually I'm finding interesting. I just sat through a webinar of a big company that does what we do, and they hired an analyst to do the ROI for them. And so what they did is they ran around. I got on the webinar because I was curious what methodology they used and how they went and figured it out. What they did is they did a survey. They asked, how much money do you think you saved? And that's how they came up with ROI. Wow. Where what we're doing is we're actually plugging things in. We've got ourselves I always forget the word, an ensemble Erlang A model that we use so that we can do an apples to apples comparison of before and after and that kind of stuff. And so ours is as real as I think you can do, where other folks I think pay lip service to it. They talk about it all the time, and if you want to, you can talk to somebody and maybe they'll tell you what they think they got. But we present it back, and most of the time they present it back up to their senior managers to show that they save money and that it was a good investment, which is kind of cool.
Well, and I like the flip. It didn't really occur to me until I heard you tell that story just now, but rather than sending someone around and say, how much money do you think you saved?
Right.
We'll show them their own data and say, do you think this is true?
We
right?
do. Yeah.
Do these numbers reflect your experience in real life? And if they don't, we dig back in. But, most of the time people will look at that and be like, oh yeah, there's Bob right there. I know how Bob works, like that's an accurate representation. And then we get it down to a dollar figure and lives change. It's awesome.
Do you send it with a recommendation for promotion for whoever bought the solution?
We let them handle internal politics.
You give their avatar a little cargo short upgrade right on their site for the person who implemented it, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Well, absolute pleasure talking to you guys. I know we could talk for another 3 or 4 hours on this topic, and I'm sure we'll pull in for a episode number 2 to this. But absolute pleasure. I noted that there's 3 podcast firsts. The first time that we've ever heard a company do a money back guarantee. That's amazing.
Hey-o.
We lost one of the guests within the first 5 minutes to go get a beer.
For a beer run.
The last one is first swear word on an episode. So
what?
You're the first.
That's a dubious honor, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
I mean, you're pretty badass. You got the earrings. Like you said, so
I did ask for permission, so maybe it's not quite as badass.
YouTube's going to shut us down now. Not child friendly anymore.
Right.
It's either a good party or a good song if it's got some curse words in it.
You're right about that.
It was good.
That's right.
Well, absolute pleasure. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Alex, thank you again for co-hosting us. And for anyone who wants to know more about Sharpen, feel free to reach out to anyone on this podcast, but also feel free to reach out to Alex and myself, and we'll find the right person for you.
Well, that wraps up the show for today. Thanks for joining, and don't forget to join us next week as we bring another guest in to talk about the trends around cloud contact center and customer experience. Also, you can find us at adleradvisors.com, LinkedIn, or your favorite podcast platform. We'll see you next week on another Cloud Podcast.